Happy Red Friday. It is another edition of the Intangibles brought to you by Arrowhead Addict. I am joined by my esteemed colleague, Christian Amesworth. Christian, I've been meaning to ask you, you are a high school football coach, wide receiver coach, more specifically. How's the season going? Like, it's getting close to playoff time, or are you already in the playoffs?
It sucks that you bring that up. Actually, we just lost first round of the playoffs in.
Oh, sorry. Podcast is for winning football teams only. So you're gonna.
Dude, we're like 5 minutes in. You can't do that to me. Come on.
So, what round of the playoffs was it? Was it divisional or?
So we had a first round bye. We were seeded well enough to actually get the first round bye, and then we lost in a crazy game, like uncharacteristic of our football team. Had 4 turnovers against a team we probably should have beat. So
wow, that just sounds like poor coaching, honestly.
Yeah. I've been telling myself that all weekend, man. So thanks.
No, seriously though, you're doing the Lord's work, right? Like high school football coaches, high school teachers, you guys are in the trenches working with those kids. And, you know, I certainly did not even come close to playing collegiate sports, but I still think about a lot about the life lessons and stuff I learned from our coaches. So seriously, thank you for doing that. And better luck next season, right? Like this is year 1 for you. So great place to start. Making the playoffs in a first round bye.
Nowhere to go but up.
Absolutely. And speaking of up, we've got a lot of good things coming up today on the Intangibles. Here in a minute, we are going to have a special guest join us, and we are going to do kind of a fun nonsense activity centered around the Buffalo Bills and Chiefs rivalry that's existed for basically the Patrick Mahomes era. We've got a pretty fun activity that we're going to do centered around that. Then after that, you know what? This time we've done some nonsense here lately. We're going to get down to some meat and potatoes. We're going to do a real in-depth look at this Bills Chiefs matchup. Why waste a really good game like this talking about something else? So we're going to get into all the numbers, all the analytics. I've got all sorts of abbreviations on my sheet here of metrics that we're going to do to measure this game. Really excited to break this game down with you. But first, I'm very excited to tell you about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Yep, it's here. It's Underdog Fantasy, and this is a great slate of games, guys. Commanders, Eagles, Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, Chargers. You don't want to be missing out on the action on Underdog. This is a great week to play Red Zone Rush, a game you won't find anywhere else. Just pick whether or not a player will score a touchdown by swiping right or yes or left for no. Simple as that. Plus, your entry will be automatically boosted and you'll get a 51% profit boost. I tell you one that I really like. George Pickens has like magically become a wide receiver 1 with the Russell Wilson moonballs. I'm swiping right on him for sure. Also, Underdog, they offer vulture protection, which means your designated running back, if he's supposed to score a touchdown, but he gets vultured by the backup, your pick'em entry, it's automatically rescued. Use the standard pack plays to the SGPP builds. You can do that upon a similar game script. They basically just build these packs for you, and you can play with those packs around a certain game. If you've got a certain group of players that you like, maybe it's a high scoring game or maybe it's a low scoring game. Download the app today and use promo code Arrowhead Addict. That's all one word to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Again, that's code Arrowhead Addict, all one word to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Select higher or lower on your favorite player and cash in on Underdog. Must be 18 years or older and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.npcgambling.org. Arizona, call the 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. All right, so we've got a guest that's going to be joining us now. One of my favorite podcasts to listen to, an OG podcast. It's truly what I think is like premium Chiefs content. We have Taylor Witt from the It's Always Sunny in Chiefs Kingdom podcast. Taylor, welcome aboard. It's so good to have you on.
Hey, fellas, great to be here. Appreciate the intro. Fan of your guys' work as well. So, excited to talk some ball.
One of the things that I love about your guys' show that you and Austin do, which by the way, again, it's Always Sunny in Chiefs Kingdom. And one thing that I love about this podcast is it's now under the Fansided umbrella. So you guys are on with Fansided now. So technically we're like weird cousins, brothers. I'm not necessarily sure, but I'm really glad that you guys are here with us. And that, by the way, your show hasn't moved though. Like your podcast stream, you can still look it up on any of your podcatchers and find it and listen to it. What I love about your guys' show is you can find a lot of podcasts that break stuff down with analytics and numbers. And then like sometimes I just want to get some meat and potatoes Chiefs homerism bias. And you guys are so good about that.
Yeah, we don't hide the fact that we're fans first. I think a lot of people, try and feel this obligation to be like super objective and super we are Chiefs fans. That's the whole reason we did the pod. And we really like to lean into that. I want to say that I am very impressed by your live ad read because we record our pod. And so I have to get through that Underdog ad and I screw up like 10 different times and say the URLs wrong and have to recut and rego. You just blasted through it all in one go. So I'm proud of you, bud.
I'm no Sterling Holmes, but it'll do.
Yeah, he's a
Sterling, he's to go. He's to go. Well, It's Always Sunny in Chiefs Kingdom. By the way, it's based off the show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is premium content, premium comedy. They just don't make them like that anymore. Like it's up there with the upper echelon, like sitcom TV shows. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Arrested Development was another high tier one, but only like the first 2 seasons. After that, garbage.
I like 3, but then when they remade it on Netflix, it got way worse. Yeah, for sure. I got to throw Seinfeld out there. It's one of my all-time favorites for sure.
Yeah, Seinfeld, absolutely. And then probably The Office. Like I'm an Office guy, but I know not everyone is.
Classic. Yeah.
So what we're going to do today with our friend Taylor is we're going to kind of do like an activity that they would do. So we are going to do a snake draft of the top moments of the Chiefs-Bills rivalry. So we're going to start this from the kind of Mahomes, Josh Allen era. Sorry for those of you guys who, know about the 4 falls in Buffalo. I wasn't alive for that part, so we're just going to skip that part. And plus, these are the glory days, right? Like, we're going to talk about that. So we're going to just pick our favorite moments in time, guys. So with that, you can take that however you want. I took it very literally, but you might take it as like a moment in a game. You might take it as a play. You might take it as something not in a game. One of my moments actually isn't involved in a game at all. And at the end, we're going to see who has the best team, and then we're going to have the chat decide who has the best team at the end. So Taylor, as our guest, you get to lead off, and then Christian and I flipped a coin, which Christian lost again. Tough weekend for him. But I'll be in the middle. And then Christian, you actually have the favorable position because you're at the end. So you get to double up on those picks. So I now, with the beginning of the first Chiefs-Bills moment draft, Taylor Witt, you are on the clock. What would you like to take as the 1-1?
So it's tough. There's a lot of different moments in this rivalry that have been a lot of fun. And we're going to have some great picks here. First thought is you got to go to a play or a moment from 13 seconds. I think that's the peak of this rivalry right now. That's the one that everyone remembers when they think back about this whole experience. So I'm going with Do It Kels. Do It Kels, 25-yard pass to Travis Kelce with, the 3 seconds left at the end of the pass. And there are a couple moments from this sequence that I'm sure we'll end up drafting besides for just this pass. But this was the moment that we knew that they could tie it. It was a 49-yard field goal at the end of this pass. And just the whole story behind Travis noticing that they were playing him off in the middle and saying that seam's open and then going up to the line and Mahomes barking out, "Do it, Kels," and that being captured in the broadcast. The whole thing is just iconic. And I can't imagine going with another pick there at 1-1.
Yeah, I think Christian and I probably both just crossed one off of our list, right? Like that is a signature moment. I do want to point out that I think it's so interesting that moment is the one that all of us went to. And that wasn't even the game sealing play.
Right.
Like that wasn't the game winning play. It wasn't you didn't select the field goal, the 49-yard field goal that Harrison Butker sunk in that game, or the back shoulder fade that the Chiefs never do to win the game in overtime. It's that play. And I think that just encapsulates the type of game that they were able to play, and that they literally play football at a backyard level, those two guys. And also it highlights something that's just key in the Chiefs-Bills rivalry. And it's the incompetence by the Bills to always do the wrong thing in the wrong moment, right? Mm-hmm. In that moment, they do a touchback instead of just squibbing it, which would have drained another 3 or 4 seconds off the clock, which every second mattered. And then they play the super soft off coverage and give this just 25-yard seam route to Travis Kelce, who, basically just runs and falls down and when someone touches him. It was truly so easy, but also just peak cinema, as they say.
And if I will, emotions going from very, very low to very, very high in that one play. I mean, the up and down, the roller coaster of it all. That was where I was like, oh my God, we can win it. It was a shock.
A lot of people are really hard on Tony Romo. But I thought he was fantastic in that.
I did too.
Like he's got a chance, Jim. Look at it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
Tony was breaking it down from the moment they threw the first pass to Tyreek. He was saying like, oh, like this could happen. Like he was way on top of it.
And always, unsung hero, I always want to highlight this moment about that particular game. None of it means anything if Harrison Butker doesn't miss the kick. And part of the reason 100%. Why Tony Romo was winding up like a wind-up toy there is because he knew they had the kicker that could make the kick. So you don't have to get it super far. I mean, that's like part of the thing about the not so dynamic kickoff nowadays. Is like they basically have to get like 2 first downs, and most kickers can make it in the NFL. So the always clutch. Harrison Butker. All right. So mine, I went very literal. I found this kind of interesting. When you go down to the play index of Pro Football Reference, all the plays, they're just like literally written out exactly what happens, but there's no context, right? So like, for instance, the touchdown pass to win the Super Bowl just says like McCole Hardman, right, 2 yards, touchdown Chiefs. That's it. No context, but we know that that's like a peak moment in Chiefs fandom. So my moment that I'm taking with the second pick, and there's a little bit of strategy here. The 2023 AFC Divisional 1st and 10, fourth quarter, 1 minute and 43 seconds left. Isaiah Pacheco for 8 yards behind right guard Trey Smith, Tyrell Dodson on the tackle. What's significant about that moment is after the missed kick, the wide right, Isaiah Pacheco comes out on the first down that the Chiefs get the ball. And you're still thinking, there's 1 minute and 43 seconds of you're still thinking, hey, Bill's going to stop here. Chiefs punt the ball. They can go do the 13 seconds thing to the Chiefs. And what do? They come out on first down, and Isaiah Pacheco has this just gut punch run for 8 yards. And I knew right then that they had done it, that they had done this to the Bills again, and that they just shoved it down their throats. And like, if there was any doubt there, it was totally erased. And I also love that too, because like, you watch that play on the replay and all the guys just instantly start celebrating because of how hard he ran. And they knew that they were going to get that first down. And there was no doubt in my mind that they were getting that first down after that play. And you knew it was over. And they had went and done it in Buffalo. There was all those narratives about like, well, they've never played in a place like Buffalo on the road in the playoffs. And that they had once again, just like been the thing that the Bills could not get past. Truly a great moment and a great Isaiah Pacheco moment. And also it's just like a great like representation of how Chiefs football has really changed over the years. Like I remember when they came onto the scene in 18 and 19, they were described as finesse football team that couldn't get in a phone booth and fight with people. And now they're that team that are mollywopping people and punching people in the face. And they went in there and they won that game. And there was no doubt that they were going to walk out there with the win. And then afterwards, them running around the field, getting snowballs thrown at them, waving to the fans. The Bills fans are crying in the seats. It was great. So peak moment for me. That's my pick.
Yeah, solid round 2 pick or round 1 pick, dude. Like the inevitability of Mahomes, that kind of like encapsulates that whole like mantra of Mahomes, right? Like,
and I want this shit pisses me off, man. The 2 plays, right? Oh, if Tyler Bass just makes that kick, the Chiefs don't even win that game. He makes the kick. There's 1 minute and 43 seconds left. We just finished talking about 13 seconds. That happens. And then same scenario. I hear this all the time. It has just been spoken into relevancy. Jimmy Garoppolo hits Emmanuel Sanders. Chiefs might not win that game. There's like 1.5 minutes left. What about that game told you that the 49ers defense had anything left for that Chiefs offense in 2019? Nothing. Right? So that, I don't know why. Those things just drive me crazy. So I wanted to pick the play.
If Bass hits the kick, the game's tied. They're not even up. That's a game-tying kick. It's ridiculous. Nick Wright,
blessed is our Chiefs Kingdom father in the media. He has highlighted very clearly that like Josh Allen has gained more from losing to Patrick Mahomes than Patrick Mahomes has been from slaying the giant. And that's very, very true. All right, Mr. Bookends, Christian, what are you taking with the 3rd pick of the Chiefs draft? Chiefs Bills draft.
Well, here, I have to say one more thing about that. 2 timeouts for Mahomes with 1 minute 47 seconds left on the clock. So Mahomes.
I don't know, Jim. Who's going to do
it? Yeah,
and Harrison Butker.
Yeah.
So here is my first pick. And this one gets unnoticed. It kind of goes unnoticed under the radar a lot when we talk about the Chiefs-Bills rivalry. But it's one of my favorite all-time playoff games. It's the Chiefs versus Bills divisional round in 2021. Now, remember, this is like the 2020 season. The Mahomes-led Chiefs have not gotten a Super Bowl yet. We're going to go play San Francisco in 2 weeks. And we have to get through the Bills, a team who is like, when you look at their roster, pretty stacked. My favorite part in that So I went to the what's that game?
So
I went to
Texans,
the
Titans, and then Niners.
Yes, yeah. So I went to the Pats game the year before, and we went on that drive at the end of the game, and it didn't end up mattering, right? Because Brady comes down. It's inevitable. He's going to go win another ring. And you have that gut feeling when you're in the playoffs, especially as like this age Chiefs fan early in the dynasty. It's like, man, I don't know what's going to happen if they come down and just hit us in the mouth. Like, I know Patrick Mahomes is amazing. I know that the Chiefs are my favorite team. We got to do something with it. And you still, again, there's like that hesitancy of like, do we have it? Is this our year? And it's the drive after. So we have the first drive where Josh Allen comes down, scores. My favorite moment is that second drive where Mahomes has the ball for the first time and you go through and it's like you were talking about earlier, Price, like a Mahomes pass to McCole Hardman. Well, it's not really just a pass to McCole Hardman. He gets out of the pocket, flips the ball, shuffles, and then makes a big gain. And then it's a Mahomes run. And then it's another
scrambled
pass.
A lot in that game. I actually, maybe producer Richard will be nice enough to link this. I did a piece over the summer that the site reposted where I went back and watched the whole game and wrote down like 13 observations 900 days later. And that's one of the things that jumped out to me. He ran so much in that game. There were several times that he escapes the pocket and runs and there's just nobody in the picture. And it's like, oh, he's just gonna keep going. And he had a huge run in the divisional round last year too. Like I remember I was laying my son down to sleep because, you're fighting kids during those playoff games and they're nighttime. And I remember they come out after halftime because I did it during halftime. I was like, oh, hopefully I don't miss it. And I looked and Patrick Mahomes is scrambling and I see the pylon. And I was like, how is this possible? Well, there was like that big chunk play to Marquez Valdes-Scantling and then a huge Pat scramble. And that's when you knew that they were just like clicking and moving the ball. But yeah, Mahomes playoff scrambles, there's nothing like them.
Oh, yeah. Well, and to score on that drive with the scramble is like, okay, we got the guy. Like, there's all those thoughts in your head about, do we have it? Do we have it? Yeah, we had it. That drive proves it to you. We can go toe to toe with the second best team in the AFC and win. So my next moment is, we talked about it a little bit earlier, is that Chiefs overtime drive against the Bills, specifically the Kelce catch. So this is the 2022 divisional round versus the Bills, the 13-second game. What doesn't get talked about a lot is what that play was and how Kelce won. So Kelce wins in the most Kelce way ever, which is attack leverage, get open, and then, catch an uncatchable pass. And read Mahomes' mind. But he does it on Matt Milano, who is like supposed to be the guy to stop Kelce. And so it's like, hey, we're going to put our best guy up against the guy you brought in to stop, and we're still going to score. And, it's going to be raining confetti. We're going to a Super Bowl.
I particularly love that you highlighted Matt Milano because that was like the sounding horn for Bills fans that week. So, we didn't have Matt Milano last time. And this time we have Matt Milano. And I just remember like grabbing the screen grab of that touchdown, which you can see Milano really, really clearly on his jersey while like Kelce is posterizing him and using that as just like a quote tweet of what they were saying, like, oh, we didn't have Matt Milano. It's like, well, you thought you had Travis Kelce, but you don't. There's no linebacker that was covering prime Travis Kelce for sure. Okay, so the strategy here is tough. I think I'm going to stick with, I've got two that I'm very concerned about that someone else is going to take. So I'm going to take this one, especially because I listened to Taylor, correct me what the series is called, like Forging the Dynasty, Creating the Dynasty thing you guys did over the summer, where you guys went through every game.
The next great American dynasty.
Excuse me for forgetting it with a dynamic name like that. Yeah.
Yes.
So I feel like you're going to be right on this path. So here's what I'm going to take. The 2020 AFC Championship game, 1st and 10, second quarter, 12 minutes and 26 seconds left. McCole Hardman to the left end for 50 yards.
Yeah.
Tackled by Micah Hyde. Here's what's significant about this moment. McCole Hardman goes from like the GOAT to the GOAT in this quarter of football. The Chiefs come out, they get a real quick stop on this dynamic Bills offense. This is the AFC Championship, by the way. This is not the divisional round where the Chiefs and Bills have met a lot. So we're a game away from the Super Bowl. And it looks like the Chiefs are ready to roll, because this is back in that time where basically the Chiefs defense needed 2 stops and the Chiefs offense was going to get the job done. Mecole Hardman muffs the punt at the 1-inch line and hands the ball right back to the Bills. Mecole Hardman goes to the sideline with the worst body language imaginable, throws his coat over his head. He's pouting. And it's like, wow, we really just gave that to them. The Bills go down, score a touchdown. Chiefs come out. I think they go 3 now, or they turn the ball over at some point. Bills go down, kick a field goal, and it's quickly 10-0.
9, Chiefs they missed the extra point.
Oh, yeah, they missed the extra point. Yes. Mm-hmm. So then Chiefs go down, and the next series, they throw a tunnel screen to Mecole Hardman, and he scores a touchdown. And it's like, okay, Mecole Hardman redemption story, which is just really highlights something that Andy Reid has always been really good about, is like, Kareem Hunt fumbles in his first carry for the Chiefs as a rookie. They go right back to him. He has this massive game against the world champion Patriots. And then this jet sweep play was a huge chunk game that really got the Chiefs right back in this game to the point where they were leading the game. And it was, again, to Mecole Hardman, a player that they still believed in and that Andy Reid didn't go away from. There's a lot of crusty old curmudgeon coaches that would have parked his ass on the bench for the rest of the game. And they didn't do that. And he ended up being a key factor for why they won that game. And that's just one of the things that I feel like has separated Andy Reid and the Bills coaching staff. Sean McDermott, there's some other things that might separate them, some storytelling philosophies that some of them have. But key is that Andy Reid is a player's coach, and he believes in his guys, and he gave Mecole Hardman that chance. And it's kind of funny. Mecole Hardman is the classic glue guy, right? Not particularly a great player, but because he was surrounded by greatness and had opportunities to make great plays, he becomes this folk hero. He's the Christian Cologne of the Chiefs, right? Not a good player, but every time you hear Christian Cologne, you're like, oh, this guy is near and dear to our Royals' heart. We're talking baseball, by the way. It's the sport with the bat, Christian.
No, I understand. I just don't follow.
Okay. So that is my play, the big Mecole Hardman redemption arc in the AFC Championship game. Taylor, you're on the clock.
I love it. I love the shout out to Christian Cologne, had both the wild card play and the World Series go ahead RBI in the 12th. I mean, very great comp there, because Mecole had several big playoff moments and then obviously caught the game-winning touchdown in the most recent Super Bowl. So that's
Christian Cologne. You never buy a beer in Kansas City, buddy.
No. And honestly, Mecole Hardman either. I mean, I know people give him a lot of shit for a lot of the, kind of boneheaded stuff he's done over the years, but he's shown up in some big moments. The 50-yard end around there, Travis Kelce out leading the way, lead blocking on that play. Just a really, really nice execution by the Chiefs. And like you said, going back to a guy that, had screwed up. And that's a classic Andy Reid. I am fired up because you screwed up, because I have plays 3 and 4 on my power rankings that are both here wide open for the taking. So I'm going to take at number 6, 1:13 left, Chiefs down 3, 2nd and 10. Mahomes finds Tyreek on a crosser, and he outruns the entire Bills secondary for a 64-yard touchdown. Of course, I'm talking about the 13 seconds game again, made the score 32-29 Chiefs, and was just really, or they kicked the extra point, so 33-29. Just an unbelievable display of Tyreek Hill's speed, and he goes from horizontal to vertical as fast as anyone ever has in the history of the game. And watching the Bills secondary not have the angle, not be able to keep up with him, he actually gives the peace sign in front of him to Micah Hyde as he's crossing the goal line in front of him. I mean, that's just the most unbelievable. It's part of obviously a sequence of the most unbelievable 2 minutes we've ever watched. But Tyreek, 64-yard touchdown. Can't beat it.
Oh, we were talking about Christian being a high school football coach. And one of the first things you talk about when you're teaching tackling is angle of pursuit, right? Yeah. Guys like me, our angle was much more vertical than some of the other guys who are smaller. But you look at the picture, that screen grab of him throwing up the peace sign, and it's like Micah Hyde's got him. He's got the angle of pursuit, and he just literally breaks the angle because he is so fast. And I think that those are some of the best moments in games. Probably the game I watched most recently that had this type of dynamicness was Georgia, Alabama, where there was just a sequence where they scored 3 touchdowns in 30 seconds. And that was that particular moment was this game is and one of the things I highlighted in that story I wrote is that this game is the model for what modern day quarterbacking look like. and like that they can run, they can pass, they can throw on all these angles, and it just boom, 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 explosive plays, all the touchdowns to Gabe Davis in this game. And yeah, like Tyreek Hill, it was another one of those, like, you watch where he catches the ball, and if you told me like, hey, he's going to score a touchdown here, it's absolutely insane. So that's a great moment. And I remember thinking in that moment, okay, we're going to win. Like, you know, this is the moment, this is where we win. And I think there was like at least 13 left. There were a minute and 13 left, and there's like 2 or 3 more scores in this game from that moment on.
One more Bills score, and then the 13 seconds field goal to tie, and then the Travis Kelce walk-off. So that would be 3 more scores after that point. And
maybe I don't want to tip too much, but like one thing that was super crazy about this game too is like you have a moment where they put Tyreek Hill back as a punt returner, which they did do it all that season. And he like has this incredible punt return that gets him to like the 10-yard line. And then
younger Tyreek would have housed it. He was pissed.
And then they run the worst play known to mankind. They run a QB option with Blake Bell. So they line it up like he's the keeper, and then he laterals to Jerick McKinnon, and McKinnon gets dropped. Like, oh my God. And that,
brutal.
Just the roller coaster of that game was incredible.
It was. 13 seconds is obviously going to live in NFL infamy, not just Chiefs. So I've got the 7th pick. And a couple really fun options, a lot of really fun options left on the board. I'll go with wide right. It's not necessarily a Chiefs doing in the play, but it's kind of more about what it represents for the rivalry. Of course, this is Tyler Bass lining up for a 44-yard field goal with a minute 47 left in the most recent divisional round. And he goes wide right. And as Jim Nantz is saying, we were talking to Sean McDermott, and he said, if there's a big kick, I know Tyler Bass has missed some, but he's going to nail a bit. And then it goes wide right. Like literally as he's saying, he's going to get it. He's like, oh, he doesn't. And the 2 words you don't want to hear in Buffalo, wide right, all that stuff. And it just kind of, to me, it encapsulates the difference in the small details that the Chiefs always nail in the playoffs, or mostly, other than a couple times they didn't, but mostly get right that the Bills and all these other teams get wrong, which is, you got to capitalize. The 13 seconds kick by Butker is a longer kick than this. It's a 49-yard kick. And it was, a windy, cold night in Arrowhead that he nails that. That was not an easy kick by any means. And he nails it. And that's just, classic Chiefs to be able to make the kicks when they need them. Classic Buffalo, not make the kicks when they need them. Bass wide right. I'm taking that 7.
Missed kicks are a trendy topic right now here in Chiefs Kingdom. And I think like if people really miss the theme, the message here when it comes to the Chiefs win all these close games. People look at it and say, Chiefs win all these close games. Those are all coin flips. But what they fail to realize is, why is every game the Chiefs play close? It's because they're never down and out. They're never out. You cannot put the team down far enough. And when they are down 10 points, they still believe that they can win the game outright.
They do.
And they do. So therefore, for you to have a close coin flip game, you have to be close. It's hard to win a close game if you're down 41-10. And then you have a team that has been in that situation so much and is so good at it that I truly believe that they just believe in themselves and know that they can do it, that the pressure feels lesser for them than it is other teams. And then, like, how many like key special teams moments have there been in the Chiefs Super Bowl runs? You talk about Bass missing the field goal, the Chiefs block an extra point in the Super Bowl. They've done this time. It is a huge part of what they have done. And, we forget about special teams because, we can't start special teams players really on your fantasy team. And it's not trendy to draft a special teamer. But how many times in the draft are we coming out here and that we talk about like, hey, Leo Chenal, this is a guy that might be a project on defense, day 1 starter special teams. Shamari Connor, day 1 special team starter. That stuff matters. So when you hear that, realize that these are the type of guys who end up altering the level of play. And the Chiefs are in a position that stuff matters, right? The Jaguars, them drafting core special teamers doesn't do much for them because they just need dudes. But the Chiefs have the dudes. We know who the dudes are, and they're able to build this team that has role players. And that's how you get the Christian Colognes, the McCole Hardmans, the Leo Chenal. Leo Chenal would be like, a player no one would talk about, but everyone loves Leo Chenal because he gets this ultra defined role that he just rocks at, and he's in a coaching staff that knows how to use them. So,
and he's one of the most athletic linebackers of all time, 9.99 relative athletic score. I love Leo. He is just an absolute monster.
If you look at pictures of him on Instagram in plain clothes, not in uniform, you're like, dude, you're a cartoon character. He's built like Johnny Bravo, dude.
For sure.
How are you? Well, you heard they call him John. I think they call him John Cena is his nickname.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just absolutely insane. I knew he was going to be great when I saw in his draft profile that he wrote Death Row on his arms at Wisconsin. Yes. I was like, okay, I'm done here. 10 out of 10.
Bring him in. Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to go off the beaten path here because I feel like this moment actually is more impactful than a lot of people want to realize. I want to take you to March 16th, 2022, the day that the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl. You're saying, how is this possible? The Super Bowl isn't played in March. It's played in February. And the Chiefs haven't lost many Super Bowls. Well, this is the day that the Bills were crowned Super Bowl champions because they signed Von Miller to a 6-year, $120 million deal. And they got OJ Howard, as NFL.com describes him, a standout tight end from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They were all in. And this was the move that was going to end the Chiefs dynasty because what had happened a few days later is the Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill. And this was the end of the Chiefs. All these teams, they always say they're going to be a dynasty, and the Chiefs are just another blip on the radar with a rookie contract, and that's going to be the end of it. They've got Von Miller. I mean, Von Miller just won a Super Bowl with the Rams closing out that Super Bowl. And when I tell you that the Bills regret this Von Miller deal, he's been really bad. Yep. And not including getting injured, which, by the way, you don't get to wave away to be like, well, he got injured. They didn't know that's going to happen. Old guys get hurt. This just in. I'm old. I get hurt now. It's just how it goes. And then, oh, by the way, he's been suspended off the field. He went a period of time. I was tracking it. He did finally end the streak. He went 18, 19, 20 games without a sack. During that time, he's not been anything close to what they signed him for. And they've had to rework his deal basically to try to get it so they can get out of it as quickly as possible. And oh, by the way, OJ Howard, the missing piece to the Bills offense, who was going to be this perfect tight end complement to Dawson Knox, did not even make the team and is out of football. So it just kind of goes to show you how silly season is. And, it happens every year that these teams load up and it's like, oh, this team got this guy and this guy, and the Chiefs aren't doing anything. This was supposed to be the end of the Chiefs dynasty. The Bills getting Von Miller, their closer, right? That was one of the things in that 13 seconds game. The Bills just had no pass rush in that game. And Von Miller's the closer. That's what he's always done. And it's truly has Von Miller even played in a game against the Chiefs? Or I guess he did, but it's been very, very minimal, his impact. And they're looking to get out of that deal as soon as possible. And shout out to him for soaking up the Bills cap space and making them move on from good players like Stephon Diggs, like Micah Hyde, like Mitch Morris, like Jordan Poyer. So every decision's got consequences. We've seen what the arms race in the AFC West has done to the teams trying to chase the Chiefs. And this is another example of Chiefs living rent free in their head.
Yeah, dude, love it. Absolutely love it. That's that out of the box thinking that you bring to this podcast. And I just want to applaud you for it really quick.
I'm the Christian Cologne of this podcast.
Yeah, you're the Christian Cologne of the Arrowhead Addict, the Intangibles podcast.
That's right.
You guys didn't leave me with a whole lot here, man. I really had to, I crossed off 3 things off of my list. So luckily, Price gave me the go ahead. Definitely bring 6 or 7. And I'm happy you gave me that advice because I'm digging sort of the bottom of the barrel here. The one that I have here, the last one remaining on my list, is Dion Dawkins talking trash right before the Bills the Bills played the Chiefs in this most recent playoff run. So if you remember, kind of went under the radar because there were so many other things going on. But Patrick Mahomes, here's the quote, has never been to the Bills stadium in full effect. He has no idea what our fans even look like. Good luck. And to say that to Patrick Mahomes, who's beaten you multiple times in the playoffs thus far in his career, it's ballsy to say the least. But I just have to believe that gave them that much more motivation to go in, and they were already being doubted. This was the first legit away playoff game in the cold in another stadium outside of the one they played the previous week. But it gives them that extra motivation. And when you look at the box score, I mean, what is it? 27-24 final, kind of a tight race up until the end, but I have to believe that plays a role in Patrick Mahomes, in Travis Kelce's head. These guys are talking trash. Nobody believes in us. we got to go out and show them, like the whole Burrowhead thing as well. It's like, bring on the pressure. We're going to shut you up. And that's what they did. And they won another Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Yeah. The Deion Dawkins slander was kind of strange. It's just like, I'm not sure that you know what you're doing, and teams just continue to do it, right? Like, just give the Chiefs like material to, I'm sure by like this time tomorrow or the next week or the next couple of days, we'll have something that some Bills player says or something. I've already seen like a lot of people are going to be picking the Bills in this game anyway. So it's to be expected. All right. So for the chat, Christian, summarize your 3 picks.
All right. So I had the Deion Dawkins trash talk. I had let me go to my list here. I had the Chiefs Bills divisional round 2021, that second drive where Mahomes has the ball and dives over, scores it. And then I have the Chiefs overtime drive against the Bills, specifically the Travis Kelce catch over Matt Milano.
My team is the Von Miller contract coupled with the weapon OJ Howard. Then I have the McCole Hardman 2020 AFC Championship redemption arc, and then I have Isaiah Pacheco's game-sealing run to win the AFC divisional in the 2023 playoffs. And Taylor, you have.
Of course, I have Do It Kels. I have the 64-yard touchdown to Tyreek, and I have Tyler Bass wide right.
When I hear you say it, you kind of fleeced us. You kind of fleeced us.
I had 1, 3, and 4 on my power ranking, so I will take it.
I think the thing that I was like, I didn't want to just like go to all one game. Like, I really want to try to like hit all the games, because I think people forget how much of the 2020 AFC Championship game was an ass whooping. Like, how
about Josh Allen throwing the ball at Alex Okafor late in that game? We're kicking their ass, and he has the late hit, and then Josh Allen shows his emotion. Which, look, I like Josh Allen. I think a lot of people in Chiefs Kingdom feel a little bit of like animosity towards him because of everything everybody's been through. But I think he's a good dude. But he was broken in that moment, and that was a really good just kind of symbol of that game.
Yeah, and one other moment I had on my board was in the regular season on October 16th, the Bills players are waving goodbye to Chiefs fans as they beat the Chiefs in the regular season, and it's like, they've got Von Miller, and this is the crowned year, and the Chiefs end up like going and winning the Super Bowl that year. Was just really great. Them getting like their brains bashed in by the Bengals was kind of enjoyable. That was kind of like gross. Like, I can both lose, but I guess not. Taylor, it's been really cool having you on the podcast, man. I forgot to tell the story. So a place that will remain nameless, Taylor and I actually work together, and we did not know this. We work at a very large place, and I was reviewing something. I was like, okay, I need to reach out to this guy, Taylor Witt. And I was like, boy, it just sounds familiar. And I kind of like kept saying it to myself. And then I heard like the do from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia theme. And I was like, wait, that? So then I messaged Taylor, and I like asked him about the work thing first. And I was like, hey, by the way, are you familiar with a podcast called It's Always Sunny in Chiefs Kingdom? And he correctly goes, no, not at all. I have no idea what you're talking about. And he was like, JK, dude, it's me. And then so that was really cool to find out that we actually work together in more than one place. And now it's also great because I can pretend like I'm working and then just like message him like, nuke, we've got DeAndre Hopkins coming to Kansas City. So it's great to have like one more person to message about the Chiefs at work, which, by the way, you can't tell my work that does that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a joy to work at a large company. Sometimes you kind of get lost in the shuffle, but that was really funny. Always really funny to connect with people about stuff like that, because I mean, it's a smaller world than you think sometimes. I've had a couple people be like, now, wait, are you Taylor Witt? Like, that I've seen a tweet go viral from? And I'm like, oh, yeah, that was probably my tweet. I was probably talking about the Chiefs. And
the same thing happens to me. Like, my coworkers message me like, dude, you're on Chiefs Reddit, just so you know. It's I'm not, it kind of pissed me off that you work there, because now I'm like the second most famous Chiefs podcaster to work at the company, but we'll let it slide.
Both got good stuff going, man. But, it's big enough podcast world for everybody.
Make sure you follow Taylor on Twitter at Taylor_Witt and listen to the It's Always Sunny in Chiefs Kingdom podcast. Him and Austin, they're going to have great content. When does the show come out? Usually it comes out like on Thursdays or Wednesdays.
Either Wednesdays or Thursdays, depending on our schedule. So midweek every week. Yeah.
Austin lives in Denver and specializes in Denver fan tier. So I expect some high quality content from y'all this week. Taylor, thanks again for joining us. And as always, go Chiefs, man. Thanks for coming.
Go Chiefs. Always a pleasure. Talk to you guys next time.
See ya. All right, Christian. Well, now we have a very important game to talk about. I think that this game has a lot of implications. Obviously, we're talking about the 1 seed here. This is a real opportunity for the Chiefs to set themselves up for real success down the line here. And I think that there's a lot of really kind of interesting angles to talk about these two teams and how much they've changed. That's one thing that I came back to when I was breaking down this game, is that both of these teams, their identity and the players involved have really changed. You know, at one point when we were talking about Chiefs Bills, it was like, hey, it's going to come down to if the Bills can stop Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. And that's completely changed now with the Chiefs offense and how it runs. And just think about the Bills. Like their defense was built around Matt Milano, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. And most of those guys are gone or not going to be playing in this game. And their offense was built around Stephon Diggs, and he's not there anymore. So these two teams have changed a lot.
Oh, yeah. And I was thinking about that as I was writing down my Red Friday keys to victory here. I was like, man, it seems like these are two completely different teams than the last couple times we've seen them, right? Like Bills completely revamped, got younger. Chiefs completely revamped, got younger. Kept a few key pieces. Bills had to part ways with some of those like higher echelon players that they had on their team, but it feels like two almost. I mean, you have the Kelce and Josh Allen, head-to-head matchup, which is always going to be good. But it's like, man, even like the dynamics of the team, the identities are completely different. It's like, man, the Chiefs defense. And if you said that 3 years ago, they'd be like, what, is leading the league in points allowed? And you're like, no. They're actually good now. And then same thing with the Bills. It's like Bills defense. Okay, a little bit worse than usual. But the Bills offense, like, kind of really good somehow with no like little to unknown pieces. So it's a weird matchup, dude.
Yeah, it really is, especially when you factor in like these two teams, like they're centered around two all-world quarterbacks who are 1 and 2 in the league. And really, like the next step for these teams to become the better versions of themselves is to run the ball. And that's really what both teams have gotten much better at. And it's just kind of funny. Like it's kind of an emphasis on what the whole league is right now with the two high shells and where teams are going to becoming more efficient. And also, I think it's just like trying to make things easier on their quarterbacks who are both now on real contracts. And we've seen the impact on that on both players. They both lost their wide receiver 1. And, for a long time, Josh Allen was the guy playing with a really good defense. Now it's the Chiefs, and both teams have kind of had their draft blunders at times, right? Like Bills probably wish they had the Kyer Elam pick back. And, the Chiefs have had some of those too. So it's been interesting to watch these teams mold and adapt. Overall, though, like the Chiefs-Bills rivalry, they've played 7 games in the last 4 years, which is crazy. They play each other like twice a year every year. Chiefs lead the series 4-3, but are 3-0 in the postseason. Average margin of victory between the two teams, 8.1 points, which is really deceiving because there's a couple of blowouts in there. You've got the Chiefs 2020 AFC Championship game, that blowout, and then there was a regular season game. It was a night game. There was like a thunder and rain delay in that game as well. Bills blew the Chiefs out, and 2021 was a game that kind of felt like rock bottom. So 8.1 margin per victory. But overall in the series of points, the Chiefs have a plus 7 point differential between them. So like 7 points have separated them in these games cumulatively. So we know one thing, this game's going to be tight, right? Like I don't see Chiefs rolling 31-10 in this game.
Oh, no way. And our offense hasn't scored 31 points this year, has it? I mean, highest we've gotten.
They would have scored 31 if they'd kicked the extra point when they scored the Kareem Hunt touchdown against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Okay.
They scored 30, but they didn't need to kick the field goal, but it would have been 31.
Yeah, no. So, and especially against the Bills defense that like seems to give them fits every time we play them. It's like, yeah, no, it's going to be a tight race. The Chiefs always win by 1 score anyway. Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic game.
So let's get into the game. We're going to be breaking this down with our Red Friday factors. We kind of went high level with this game and wanted to talk about what we think are some of the key matchups and some of the key numbers that are really going to decide this game. And then at the end, we'll pick the game. So I'll go ahead and start off first. And this is something that I've talked about quite a bit. And I thought the Bills presented a really interesting challenge for the Chiefs, something that I was talking about way back after the Ravens game. And I thought the Bills were one of the few teams that could really test the Chiefs in a certain way. I will mention before I get into this that the injury report looms large for the Bills. You have Amari Cooper, who has played 2 games for the Bills and then has missed some time with a wrist injury. Keon Coleman, their rookie wide receiver, will not be playing in this game. He's come on of late. He's going to be out for this game. Dalton Kincaid, their first round pick from last year, who is a pretty good tight end, there's a chance he doesn't play in this game. He didn't practice on Wednesday as of when we're recording this. And same with Spencer Brown, their right tackle. So injuries will be a big part of this, as it is for every game. We know the Chiefs are dinged up too, but this does kind of relate to my analysis. So my first point is going to be limiting the Bills passing to tight end and running backs. The Bills have frequently attacked the Chiefs in this area. The regular season game in 2023, they went right at the Chiefs linebackers and safeties in coverage. There's a big James Cook touchdown in this game. They frequently attack there with Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. The Chiefs defense currently ranks 20th in DVOA allowed to tight ends, but ranks 2nd in yards per game to tight end. With Knox and Kincaid, like I said, his status is up in the air. The Chiefs are going to be tested. They're mainly going to go at that triangle of the defense, which is Bolton, Tranquil, and Justin Reed. One thing I want to note too is I posted on Twitter yesterday, Justin Reed's snaps have slowly been progressing. He's gotten progressively more and more snaps since the bye week. And I do wonder if maybe this is a game that's part of it. There was the second sack that the Chiefs got where Najee Johnson, where it's a 2-corner sack. The Chiefs are actually playing cover 3, and they're using a 3 safety look in the back end. So Justin Reed's playing as a linebacker. They use Connor, Cook, and Hicks to be the 3 deep safety there. So I wonder if maybe Hicks is kind of the answer to them being tested in this area, because I think they know that the Bills are going to go after them. And the Bills present an interesting challenge here because they've got 2 good tight ends with Knox and Kincaid. They've got two good receiving backs. James Cook is a good receiving back. And then Ray Davis, the rookie from Kentucky, he's had some big plays for them. He's averaging 15 yards a catch. So it's going to be a real test. The Chiefs defense ranks 5th in passing DVOA to the running back. So they've done well there. But if you go back and watch those games, like the passing to those areas of the field, it's going to be key. And another reason why they do that is they got to start getting you thinking horizontal, right? And I would expect a healthy dose of outside zone. The last couple of teams that have actually run the ball kind of well, they've not been running gap and duo and man. They've been using more outside zone and counters and stuff like that. So I think that there's a chance, you're always going to see that with Josh Allen is going to run the student body right, where he just gets the ball and starts like running with the blockers and those type of things. So but man, if you told me like I can push one button in this game to guarantee a Chiefs win, shutting down Knox, Kincaid, Cook, and Davis in the passing game, I would push that button, because I truly think that might be the biggest obstacle, because I feel whether Amari Cooper plays or not, the Chiefs can limit the passing offense otherwise.
Oh yeah, and that, as you were saying that really parallels with that Ravens game that we played early in the season, where it's like, hey, Lamar Jackson, he's a different style of runner, but he's very, very good running out of the backfield. They have a good running back. They have good tight ends. Their outside guys were a little shaky, but it's like, hey, if we can limit them to, or if we can limit their tight ends, their running back, like we're going to have a good day. And that's what they did. And that's what ended up happening. I mean, we got the W. It wasn't particularly close going into that game. So yeah, absolutely fantastic Red Friday. Key to victory there. So my first one is focus on what works. And what I mean by that is, for better or for worse, the Chiefs offense has turned into like this quick action offense that thrives on yak and underneath throws to the playmakers. Like we really didn't have an underneath threat or an over the top threat that was reliable until we got DeAndre Hopkins. Not necessarily in the same way as Xavier Worthy does he attack the deep parts of the field, but he's absolutely a guy who you can throw a back shoulder fade to, who you can throw over the middle of the field, and he will, make the plays you need him to make. The Chiefs are really lacking, and we talked about this last week, the reliability of their wide receivers, especially their young guys. Xavier Worthy's had kind of a rough start here, does pretty good deep down the field, but as you saw in the game we just played and the game a week before that, like him and Mahomes, I don't know, it's like their vibes are sort of off. And, until that connection gets to be one that it becomes more reliable, like let's just stick with the bread and butter, like run some play action, get the ball to Kareem Hunt, move the ball up and down the field. This is not a Bills team who is a juggernaut like in years past. Like, let's take advantage of the matchup and, go out and win the game. as of right now, the Chiefs rank 3rd in completion percentage, 22nd in 20-plus yard plays, 31st in rushing yards per attempt. So, I mean, it's going to be a little bit difficult with Kareem Hunt in the backfield and not having Isaiah Pacheco back, but I think he's done a pretty good job so far. And, we lean on him in those tough situations. We don't have to get, 5, 6, 7 yards an attempt if we can be efficient with the attempts that we do give him.
To your point about efficiency and moving the ball quickly and mitigating pass rush and really just kind of winning early. Here's the Chiefs' EPA per play by down this season. So on first down, they generate negative 0.5 EPA, which ranks 18th in the NFL. On second down, negative 0.8 EPA per play, 18th in the league. On third down, positive 0.34, first in the NFL. On fourth down, which fourth down is always going to have the biggest spike in EPA because it continues the series, right? So the effective points added is more, 1.60 fourth. So they have been third and fourth down monsters, almost to a point that a lot of people who are doubters of the team are going to look at that and say, oh, this isn't sustainable. And part of it is that they are in third downs because the Kareem Hunt running game hasn't been particularly dynamic. It's efficient, but not dynamic, right? 2 yards, 3 yards. Okay, it's 3rd and 5. Patrick Mahomes does some Patrick Mahomes stuff. We move the chains. But the best offenses in the NFL don't face third down because they move the ball on first and second down, right? That's how the Chiefs offense was in 2018. It's like, oh, their third down efficiency isn't that great. Well, yeah, they don't face it. They move the ball on first and second down. They don't need that other down. So it's something that hey, yeah, if they continue to have to live in this where every time it's 3rd and Mahomes, 3rd and Kelsey, it's going to be tough. But I do think that this kind of leads into one of my points too. I do think that this Bills defense offers some opportunities for the Chiefs to be a little bit more efficient in that area. So I'll go ahead. I'm going to do my third point here, but it fits right into where we're going. And that is run the damn ball. Buffalo ranks 18th in rush yards per game, 3rd in rush yards per play at 4.9. They have the 6th highest explosive run rate in the NFL and are 8th in rushing yards before contact, 12th in yards after contact per play, and they play the 9th most lightest boxes. So what that tells us is there's a lot of players who are getting a lot of yards before they're ever touched. They're giving up explosive runs at a high rate, and also they are doing it with light boxes. The Bills have historically been a dime defense. They do not like getting more bodies on the field to stop the run. And when you think about the Bills defensive linemen, they've got these big edge players, but they don't really have a ton of beef on the interior defensive line. The Chiefs have faced the 9th most light boxes in the NFL, and while ranking 6th in EPA per rush. So what that tells us is that the Chiefs are good at facing these light boxes. And despite Kareem Hunt not being that dynamic, they still ranked in 6th in EPA per rush. Listen to the list of running backs that the Bills have accumulated their kind of mediocre run defense stats against. James Conner, Devon Achane, Travis Etienne, Derrick Henry / Lamar Jackson, Cam Akers, there was no Joe Mixon in the Texans game, Breece Hall, Tony Pollard, Kenneth Walker, Achane again, and Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, you got Derrick Henry in there, and you've got Lamar. Breece Hall was supposed to be a thing, but isn't really a thing. Kenneth Walker can have his day. Jonathan Taylor can have his day, but there's not really, that's not really a murderer's list. And the Bills are still kind of inviting teams to run the ball. They play those light boxes, and the Chiefs have been good in running into light boxes. So this is a game that the Chiefs are going to need to run the ball effectively. I think we've seen Kareem Hunt's legs kind of start to look like he's 28, 29 years old and came off the street here lately. I think that they desperately need Isaiah Pacheco back. I've got a piece coming out on the site just kind of analytically breaking down who should be getting the lion's share of the carries when Pacheco comes back. But in this game, maybe they need to get Samaje Perine involved, and maybe they do some other things in the run game to kind of get some other players going. I think Carson Steele still is pretty good for his 7 yards in a cloud of dust and just jumping forward into the pile. This is a game that I think if the Chiefs are going to win, they're going to have to be able to run the ball and then to eventually set up the pass.
Yeah, which perfectly leads into my point. We got to lean on the old guys here. And by old guys, I mean guys who are around my age. So not insanely old. But Hopkins and Kelsey, Juju, and then Kareem Hunt, those are all going to be pretty pivotal pieces not only for this game, but like going forward in the year, right? So Hopkins and Kelce, are still great. Mahomes needs to lean on them. Here's just a breakdown of the stats over the past 2 games. So DeAndre Hopkins, 12 for 14, 12 receptions, 14 attempts, 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. Pretty good stat line, averaging about 70 yards a game in the past 2 games. Travis Kelce, 22 receptions, 28 targets, 164 yards and 1 touchdown. Now you look at that and you're like, man, those guys are eating up targets. They're averaging 7 and 14 targets respectively. How does that compare to the rest of the team? Well, the rest of the team is 21 catches, for 30 targets for 186 yards and 1 touchdown. So Travis Kelce by himself is getting as many targets as the rest of the team. And then Hopkins getting the little extra, those like key third down plays, which he knew he was going to do. But it's like, yeah, Mahomes usually is that guy that likes to spread the ball around. And when you look at the box score, it'll say, oh, he threw to 7 or 8 different players this week. It's like, yeah, well, kind of. He got Justin Watson out there for a key third down, and he got Kareem Hunt and Samaje Perine for 1 catch and 1 touchdown. It's like, yeah, well, the 2 guys really running the show still, Travis Kelce, DeAndre Hopkins. And that's got to be the plan for this game as well. Both guys are playing fantastic. Kareem Hunt, also another guy, you spoke about him, running the ball, being effective, not necessarily efficient in the run game, and setting up these third downs that are easy layups for Mahomes to complete. He's had 41 attempts over the past 2 games for 141 yards and 1 touchdown. It's insane production for a running back that is 29 years old, just came off the street and had every reason to stay in Cleveland, who Nick Chubb was injured over this past year, and they were relying on Jerome Ford, a past draft crush of mine. But yeah, we got to lean on these guys to make the plays, and they're the most reliable. They're the most effective. Let's make sure we utilize them.
Speaking to the old heads, it looked like Chiefs are going to get Juju Smith-Schuster back in this game as well, too. I think that they could be big. Juju Smith-Schuster has had a big role in some previous Bills games. He had a big touchdown in one of the regular season games that they've had. That was a little bit ago, especially for him as far as his body goes. But I do think that Juju can just be one more guy to find the soft spot in the zone, that they can scheme up some yak things. He still is towards the top of yak yardage for the team. Obviously, Rashee Rice leads that category still. But, it just takes a little bit more off Xavier Worthy's plate. If the passing game is going to get to where it needs to go, that's going to be a big part of it. Is Juju Smith-Schuster being able to stay healthy, stay on the field, win in the intermediate part of the field, win us that power slot, and then obviously Xavier Worthy and him getting on the same page downfield. Did you see that highlight package that I cut up and put on Twitter of like the deep shots that are missed between between Mahomes and Worthy? No,
I haven't. You'll have to send it to me right after we get done here.
It's 4 plays that literally could change like both of their seasons statistically if they hit on 2 of them. But I'll send that to you. Also, I'll play a game with you real quick. Speaking to Kareem Hunt's legs, Next Gen Stats has this statistic of 15 mile per hour carries. How many 15 mile per hour carries do you think Kareem Hunt has had this season? Just guess a number. I'll give you a hint.
This season?
Yeah, it's not 100. I'll give you a hint. Like if you're getting warm or cold, it's not 100.
We'll say 15. 5.
Okay. Good job. You guessed pretty low. It's 8. Now,
okay. Yeah.
How many 15 mile per hour or faster carries does Patrick Mahomes have this season?
Definitely more, right? I'll double it. I'll say 16.
Patrick Mahomes has 18 carries of 15 miles per hour or more, which is more than Kareem Hunt, which is more than Devon Achane, which is more than Kenneth Walker. Isn't that shocking?
That is crazy, especially because you don't really think of Patrick Mahomes as like a running quarterback, right? He's just elusive.
Now, I was talking to some guy who's like a fantasy guy about this because he was kind of responding to my tweet that was about this. I think the reason why this stat is a little misleading is because if you look at the top, a lot of quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, I think this speaks to how much open field is in front of you. And if you think about it, running backs dropping back to pass, then he starts to scramble, he evades the line of scrimmage, tons of green grass in front of you. Part of what you need to run really fast is lots of space, right? That's why like there's a lot more wide receivers who hit 21, 22 miles an hour than like running backs. And that's just because they need open field to do that. So a little tricky there, but I just thought that was funny that like Patrick Mahomes has got more 15-mile-an-hour rushes than Devon Achane, who is like a burner coming out of Texas A&M. Okay, my last Red Friday factor, limiting Josh Allen, the runner. Chiefs' run defense has been elite, ranking second in rush yards, fourth in EPA per rush, and second in explosive runs, and third in rush DVOA. Despite that, they rank 27th in light box percentage with 6 or fewer in the box. So that means that they are playing quite a few light boxes still. So they're getting this run defense done while not stacking the box. They've done a nice job against quarterback runs, except for Lamar Jackson's 122 yards in the opener. In 2023, Josh Allen had 10 rushes for 32 yards and a touchdown in the regular season and 12 rushes for 72 yards and 2 touchdowns in the playoff game. Josh Allen has 4 rushing touchdowns in the Chiefs' last 3 meetings with Buffalo. Josh Allen is a major factor in the red zone, and they know that they're going to use him as a weapon down there. And he is so big and so strong that he really can just bulldoze over linebackers and linemen. So controlling him, the runner, is going to be a big part of this. He's going to get his in the passing game as a scrambler, and he's always good for one of those plays that you're like, okay, he's out by the like the boundary. There's no way this play can go any further. It's dead, and they don't just do some ridiculous stuff, and there'll be someone down there that catches the ball. So playing through the play till the end of the whistle is huge for those coverage guys. Like they're going to have to cover sometimes for 6, 7, 8 seconds while Allen's doing some of that magic. But if they can limit him running the ball, particularly in the red zone, that's going to be a big factor for them, because I feel good about their chances if it is stopping James Cook or stopping Ray Davis as the runner, or, trying to stay man on man with Amari Cooper, with Keon Coleman. Oh, well, he's not going to be in this game. Mac Hollins. Khalil Shakir is a really good player. Personally, this game for me, put Trent McDuffie in the slot full time on Shakir. Everywhere Shakir goes, Trent McDuffie, give him that treatment. I'll take my chances with Najee Johnson or Joshua Williams on the boundary guy, because like Shakir, that offense is totally different without him in it. Those couple of weeks that they were without him, he is their wide receiver 1, and he's also their explosive play guy. So something to watch there with the Josh Allen running game.
Yeah, well, and we were talking about it earlier with Taylor Witt, that 2021 AFC Championship game, that first drive that they had, it's just Josh Allen run, 4th down, Josh Allen run. It seems like that's all their go-to play every time they're in like a really high leverage moment. I know we can say the same thing because we're Chiefs fans and Patrick Mahomes.
And they're so good at it. And like the Ravens did this in that Bengals game last week too, where they like start rolling them out right, and you're like, okay, they're running the ball. Oh, and now they're just gonna pass it. Like it. Yep. If you do it in Madden, man, like even you play Madden and like someone's got Kyler Murray and they run out there and you're like, okay, like you get trapped in the no man's zone, right? Of like, do I cover the pass or do I try to go get him? And whatever you do, you're gonna be wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. So my last Red Friday factor is don't overestimate the Bills. And what I mean by that is seize the opportunity here. I'm going to go through real quick, just their games, the scores very, very quickly. Bills Cardinals week 1. Bills let up 28 to the Cardinals. They win 34-28. I mean, Cardinals are a good team, but, not anything. They're not the world beaters that you would expect them to be, especially with their super high up draft pick last year. Bills beat the Dolphins 31-10. Jaguars 10, Bills 47. Ravens 35, Bills 10. Bills 20, Texans 23. Bills 23, Jets 20. Bills 34, Titans 10. Bills 31, Seahawks 10. Bills 30, Dolphins 27. Bills 30, Colts 20. And when you put all those together, you list them out on a piece of paper, one thing you'll notice is when they face a really good team, like these playoff caliber teams, not named the Dolphins without Tua Tagovailoa, they're not exactly letting this... Oh, Price, I can't hear you.
You're good. I have my expert draft analyst down here with me now. My 4-year-old has now entered here, and he's asking if I'm talking Chiefs. So continue.
Okay. All right, good. So basically, when you put that when you put that all out on a piece of paper and look at it, you look at these like high leverage matchups: the Ravens versus the Bills, the Texans versus the Bills, the Seahawks, who have been, at least somewhat good versus the Bills, and then the Cardinals, who are playoff hopefuls. You're looking at a team who has played like some tomato cans and gotten away with beating them by a lot. I mean, you looked at their running backs earlier, you listed them out. Not exactly playing the best talent there. And that's not to disparage these other teams. It's just, where we're at this point in the season. It's very, very interesting to see how they're going to play up to the Chiefs, because they always play better when they play against the Chiefs. But we have to seize this opportunity of what seems to be like a weakened Bills team when the Chiefs are at the peak of their powers with a definitely Hall of Fame wide receiver, Hall of Fame tight end, and then Juju Smith-Schuster coming back. We just have to seize the moment, man. I understand we don't need to go perfect, but 10-0 would feel really, really nice. Kind of lock up that first seed for the AFC and, get playoffs going right.
One thing that I think really stands out about the Bills this year is they've always been good for some clunkers. They always just have kind of a few like WTF losses on their schedule, losing to Mac Jones or something like that. And this year, they've not really had that. That Texans loss, they were right in that game till the very end, till they're on like their own 2-yard line, where they decided to like launch nukes down the field for some reason that game, and eventually helped the Texans win that game. And then they got thoroughly trounced by the Ravens, but they don't have that head scratcher here. So maybe like, you're saying don't overestimate them. Maybe that's something here too, is like, if you do lose this game, they've got a head scratcher coming to the Jets or something like that. I'm not sure, but they've always been good for that. And that's honestly has helped the Chiefs quite often that they have those head scratchers. But yeah, I think like, I pointed this out as well. Josh Allen this year, every single year of Josh Allen's career, Josh Allen has had more turnover-worthy plays via PFF, higher turnover-worthy play percentage, and actual turnovers than Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen turns the ball over more than Patrick Mahomes. Fact. Except for this year. Josh Allen has 13 turnover-worthy plays at 3.5%. Patrick Mahomes has 8 turnover-worthy plays at 2.1%. Their actual turnovers this season. Josh Allen 4, Patrick Mahomes 9. So Mahomes has been a victim of some bad luck. We've talked about that. We've written about that. We don't really need to go down that road. But there's all just to say, Josh Allen might be living on some borrowed time. So maybe this is the game that some of that regression hits.
Oh, yeah. And again, look at those defenses. He's not playing, the Chicago Bears of old. He's playing the Cardinals or the Jets. I mean, who had a good defense a few years ago, but it's kind of softened up. Texans, Titans, Seahawks. These are not defensive all-star led teams like the Chiefs are at this point. Just got to get after it, man.
Okay, Christian. So before we get out of here, let's get a quick prediction, a quick pulse check. What do you think is going to happen in this game, and what are you feeling for a final score?
So final score for me, I'm going to go 27-21 Chiefs. This kind of feels like a perfect game for the Chiefs offense to bounce back. They're getting Juju Smith-Schuster back. DeAndre Hopkins is on a roll. He's getting ingratiated into the offense. Travis Kelce's been as dominant as he's ever been. Kareem Hunt doing wonderful things as well. This just seems like the exclamation point to put the 10-0 record into effect and lock up the 1 seed. I mean, we talked about it a second ago. Josh Allen's probably due for a few stinkers. This just kind of seems like how it's going to be. And I'd love for it to be the case. I would hate to be wrong, but they're probably going to keep it within 1 score, make it a nail biter all the way up until the end.
I'm going to have to do it. I hate doing it, but I think I'm going to pick the Chiefs to lose in this game. A couple of reasons being that I'm not sure that we're going to get the best version of the Chiefs offense. I still think that the run game is fairly limited with Kareem Hunt. I think they need Pacheco back. I think that the passing offense is still figuring itself out. I've not seen anything to think that they're going to get explosive plays out of Xavier Worthy in this game. They're relying on Juju Smith-Schuster. And I think ultimately in this game, we know it's going to be close, right? 24-21. That's my score. Bills just edge this one out. That's going to do it all for us today on the Arrowhead Addict podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you to producer Richard. And as always, go Chiefs.